and then we'll get into it. Excellent recording. Good. So I wanted to start off with a land acknowledgement. We want to acknowledge that we gather on the traditional land of the Kumeyaay peoples, past and present, and honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who have stewarded it throughout the generations. My name is Aaron Bullard. I am on the board of directors for Choral Consortium San Diego. This is the organization that's putting on this Conductor conversation. This is our third video in the series. We're excited to keep it going. Just a little bit about the Choral Consortium. We're a service organization composed of choruses and individuals who support the choral art form throughout San Diego County and Tijuana region. Our mission is to unite, support, and promote the vibrant choral community of the San Diego Tijuana region through collaboration, inclusion, and performance. We are a nonprofit that puts together educational performance opportunities like this. So if you are so moved, we would love to have your financial support. We're going to put a donation link in the chat of the Zoom, as well as in the descriptions of YouTube and wherever this gets posted online later. And with that, we're going to introduce our two participants this evening, Arlie and Lindsey. I'm going to have you both introduce your names, pronouns, and organizations you're a part of. Why don't we have Lindsey go first?
Hi, y'all. My name is Lindsey Deaton, and I use female pronouns, and I'm the founder and the artistic director of the San Diego Queer Youth Chorus.
And I'm Arlie Langager, she, her, hers. I teach at Miracosta College and am the choral director there, and I'm president-elect designate of the California Choral Directors Association.
Great, excellent. Thank you both for joining us so much. We really appreciate having you on here. So we're going to start. I believe we figured out before that Arlie's got the closest birthday coming up. So I'm going to drop the first question in the chat, and then you're going to go ahead, Arlie, read it out loud, and Lindsey will be the first to answer, and we'll go from there.
Oh, this is a great start. What is your favorite meal to prepare at home?
Well, I've got a lot that I like to cook. Cooking is one of my things. And I guess it would be a sort of decomposed salmon dish, with a Mediterranean flavor that is, get salmon, so that you're sort of got it going, pull it out, and then add all the other ingredients for this sort of melange that includes pine nuts, capers, olives, tomatoes, and garlic, and then throw the salmon back in, and then whatever pasta you want, and put it all together. Add a half or a cup of pasta water, and just let it sort of meld together. And yeah, that was recently, so 2 nights
That
ago, I
sounds
think.
fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm coming to your house. Or
yeah.
you can
So
come to my house and make that.
yeah, well, you know what? I do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do that. Yeah, and so got to be careful what you ask for. What do you like to cook?
I don't love to cook. I live alone, so I don't love to cook for just me, but I love to cook when there are people around. And probably one of my favorites right now, like actually pan-fried salmon is one of mine with sort of a one of those like caper olive sun-dried tomatoes kind of thing. But one of my favorites right now is pan-fried trout with a lemon butter sauce and fried in panko and mustard, and it's a bit of a weakness. Not a lot of people have pan fried trout in the or trout fillets or whatever in the store,
Right.
but every now and again when I see it, I'm like, that's what I have to have.
Well, is that the Canadian part of you liking trout?
Maybe that comes from way deep down inside. It could be. That's just one of those recipes I just think is awesome because it's kind of like salmon. Trout's sort of like a whitefish that has that kind of
Right.
in
Well,
that family.
and there is ruby salmon. I mean, there can be very red
Right.
salmon,
Yeah.
Well, I just alluded that you're a Calgarian, aren't you?
I am. I am, and proudly. In fact, my dog, who is coming and going, is named Nakiska, which is the first mountain range just outside of Calgary, and so I call her Kiska. And I'm
Right.
pointing here because I got a picture just there, and her monster tongue there.
Oh, wow, that is a tongue. Well, there's a lot of climbing out and that there's like a frozen waterfall just beyond that, and then up into the ice fields.
Yes, absolutely.
Um, I actually made a winter ascent of Athabasca
Oh my. Oh
back
my.
back in the day. Yeah, a February blinding snowstorm with a guide. Back
Well,
when
yeah, I'd hope. Wow.
I actually used to climb, and I would stay in the Canadian Alpine Club hut at Lake Louise. Or
That's crazy.
yeah,
Oh wow.
have you been up there?
No, because cars. No, that's fantastic. Like I'm a hiker at best, but no mountain climber. Wow.
Well,
Uh,
but then you went to Tejas,
Well, yes,
and
there's that.
and well, Texas has a Rocky Mountain connection with Colorado. But how did you make that jump from Calgary down to Austin?
I was looking to do my terminal degree and because I was adjunct. I was doing all these part-time adjunct jobs. I was director of a boys choir and youth choirs and church choirs, and there were no more hours in the day. And I thought, I love to teach. I need to get a doctorate. So it was a matter of where can I go that I get lots of podium time and everything paid for, and University of Texas was that place.
I was born there.
In Austin?
I was, and while my father was getting his PhD in mathematics,
Oh
and
wow.
so we have a little Texas connection
I
there.
guess. Do you have
And
burnt orange still in your Hook'em horns? Absolutely.
does does that answer that?
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
You know, and you can I grew up in San Diego though. My dad moved us when I
Oh,
was 4.5 from Austin, and he got a job at San Diego State. And so I grew up in the San Diego public schools, in schools that pretty much without exception were brand new.
oh
Um,
wow.
Gage Elementary, when I went to the first day ever opened.
Wow.
Pershing was just new. By the time I got to Patrick Henry, it had only been, I think, operational a couple of years. And so this was back in the 70s. And then I went on to San Diego State back in the Frank Allman days of,
Oh yes. Yeah.
and so I was listening to Daniel talk about the master chorale, and I actually sang in the tenor section when I was um, in school then, and have some just tremendous memories of things that we
That's
did.
crazy.
So how did you end up in California from Texas?
Just looking for jobs. It was the recession, and I was done. Well, I was done my residency, and so was just working on dissertation. And I just threw out. I threw out three applications, got two interviews, and Miracosta said, "Want to come here?" And family and friends were like, because I was like, I don't know if I want to go to San Diego. People are like, "Are you crazy? Of course you do." Um, and and it's been a good thing. It took a long time to sort of settle in, but it's been a very good thing. So, and you've stayed here, but you've sort of gone back and forth.
No, actually, so I left for grad school in 1979, and I went to Carnegie Mellon for my MFA. I was an orchestra and a choral conductor with Bob Page was my teacher.
Oh
Was
wow, yeah.
he was conducting the Cleveland Orchestra Chorus,
Right,
and
wow.
Lauren Mazel was there when he was
Mm,
conducting, and then Ishvan Kari was my instrumental conducting teacher. Then I got a gig. I actually conducted professional orchestras, the Hudson Valley Philharmonic, for
oh wow.
6 years. I did their regional orchestra stuff like education concerts, chamber orchestra concerts, pops concerts. Um, and I commuted in and out of New York City. And so I got a Dalcroze certificate and licence from Bob Abramson. So I really still enjoy teaching
Yeah.
at the same time of making music. And I ended up going to Cincinnati with Jesus Lopez Cobos, who was the music director of the symphony, and I was his apprentice,
Wow.
and had children, and uh, and there you go. So we stayed in Cincinnati for 30 years and raised our children, and Cincinnati is culturally very rich.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot going on, but there's also a lot of access to the East Coast, and um, I found myself converting to Catholicism and becoming a cathedral musician for the last 10 years there. And then I came out, Arlie, and and the first question my boss asked me was, "So when's your last day?" I'm not. I wish I was kidding. I wish I was kidding.
Wow.
But
Wow.
that was my experience with the RCs, and I had
And
a
not a surprise, unfortunately. Or was it?
well, uh, you know, I'm just going to be quiet about it.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. We've got other questions to ask.
Right, right. Uh, uh, but the long and the short of it is, it provided an opportunity to actually start something really wonderful, and that was the Transcourse of Los Angeles,
Yeah.
and that's what got me back out to the West Coast, and our
Okay.
families here, and here we are. Um, but enough of that. So, do you have a smartphone? Do you use it?
I use it too much. Yes, absolutely.
And so, like, what's the most used app you have on your phone?
Well, other than mail, which is kind of tragic and true, um, the more tragic is TikTok. I have now it's a supreme waste of time. But I'm at the level where yeah, I know, where TikTok actually has these sort of, I call them lifeguards, who pop on the screen and they say, "You've been on TikTok for a long time. You need to get up and get a drink of water, go to the bathroom." And the first time that happened, I was like, "Oh, okay, I've got a problem." So yeah, that's my weakness of late. It's my, uh, I guess, pandemic weakness. So yeah, I don't know actually what the time limit really is. Uh, I've I've not measured. It's best not to know. Right. Yeah. And it's still, yeah, it could be, but
Well,
what
is
about
that
you? You've got, oh, sorry.
well? No, I was gonna, ask, because we're in pandemic times. There's, you can give yourself some slack there, Arlie. Okay. Um,
There's a
uh,
lot of space, yeah.
yeah. For me, I am looking at my calendar a lot. I also look at mail. Um, and I guess I do the Twitter thing because I honestly I follow dogs. I kid you not.
Yes.
I love to watch dogs, and there's some folks that just post the most amazing things. And after the last 4 years of the previous administration, I just needed to have some kind of regular joy in my life, and I thought that was like one way to do it. Um, uh, if you had a COVID takeaway other than TikTok, what is your COVID takeaway?
Takeaway, like what has the pandemic taught me kind of thing, or
And
what?
what will you keep? Yeah, I mean, what are you going to keep after things go, like, back to whatever the new normal is? What will
Yeah,
you keep from it?
I think I'm going to offer more grace um, to people, and I'm going to claim other people's grace. So the thing that I found during the pandemic is that people haven't been as regimented about deadlines and um, certain things. Some things are like, let's just see what we can get done. Um, and I have appreciated that grace. It's been hard to even give it to myself. And so, sort of as um, I've been giving that to my singers, my students, because they need it, and staff and faculty for that matter. So yeah, that's kind of it sort of shifts what's important, especially in academia. It can get skewed, and those kinds of things make it more. It helps prioritize, I think, but also sort of protects my own stress and that of my peers and my students. How about you?
Um,
What's your takeaway from the pandemic? What are you going to keep? What are you going to lose?
um, I don't know, 10 pounds. I need to lose 10 pounds.
This is a photo from the pop up only.
uh, there are actually two things that I really am going to keep. One has been daily meditation. That I will come back and I will lie. The two most important apps I have are Calm. Calm
Yes.
is a great app, and 10% Happier. It's
Mm,
Dan Abrams from Good Morning America. Uh,
yeah.
he's an anchor. He's got an app, and it's called 10% Happier or Meditation for Fidgety Skeptics. And it's a a secular you
Yeah.
know meditation tool, and there's a lot of great coursework there. And so that's probably the first thing. And then the second is I've had a daily Spanish lesson with my Spanish teacher in Guatemala using Zoom every day at 3 o'clock that we can, Monday through Friday. And it's been able to keep him going.
Wow.
They've got no students.
Wow.
And so we just got back from Guatemala on Tuesday.
Oh,
And that,
wow.
and that was sort of like our first like get out of town free card after getting our vaccinations. And that was really cool. I see we're being asked, so what is
Oh,
our one
oh.
of our favorite memories from a group
Well, I
that
think
we're
that
currently
I need
involved
to
in?
ask you that. So you get to start. What is one of your favorite memories from a group you are currently involved in?
Um, well, my queer youth chorus is only 2 years old, and like by a mile, it would be the two shows we did with Jason Mraz at the Spreckles Theater last February. Just way over the top, just he is so generous, both time, talent, and all of that. And without him and his foundation, we wouldn't exist. So just, yeah,
Wow. That's
that,
amazing. Yeah,
that one.
absolutely. He said that, and it's that kind of support. It's that kind of giving back artists to for artists that is so important. It's and helping us grow. And that's another. Here's a shout out to the Choral Consortium of San Diego and their work to get the word out and amplify the programs that we've got. And that's how I found out, because we get sort of buried, and it was so great that the Choral Consortium of San Diego was like, "You've got to see what's happening," and I added that to our journal at the California Choral Directors Association. Just sort of gave a little shout out to the work you guys are doing. Um,
Oh, well, that's very dear. What's one of your favorite memories from a group you're working with?
um, yeah, I was trying to think. There are many. Um, there are many. One was a surprise about what it's like to sing for other choirs. We were at a festival that was only choirs, and we just all took our turns singing for each other on stage. And I had at the time, this is a few years ago, a very small choir, maybe 15 people. And our soloist, amazing soloist, her had a death in the family, so couldn't be there to sing the solo or our piece. And it wasn't time enough to have somebody else to, fill in for that solo, because it was tricky. And although I am a singer, I sure wasn't cut out to do that piece. So I explained to the audience just before we sang that I would be covering the solo as best I could. I'd be sort of conducting as best I could, and again to understand that this is the work of the rest of the choir. So I've heard the recording, and I was there was some stuff that I wouldn't have cast myself as the soloist, let's just say. There's some weak things. But at the end, we got a standing ovation because everybody there knew that the show goes on. And even though, I breathed a million times during the solo, it was a chance for we were all watching each other. Um, and what they celebrated was that we had to find a way as our group to go on, and that the choirs listening knew what that was like. And it affirmed for me what I love about choir, which choir is community. And right in that moment we shared it. It was, yeah, it was a really sweet moment.
Um, One of the things that Frank Almond used to teach us was the wonderful thing about music was the musical, social, and spiritual cohesion that it brings to the present moment. And it sounds like you just all experienced that magic together,
Yeah.
and it manifested itself.
Yeah.
Um,
Here's another fun little aside. So I'm also the first vice president of the Musical Merit Foundation of Greater San Diego, and we're doing our auditions right now. And one of our guest judges is Frank Almond Jr.
is it? Oh, well,
There's that little small world.
yeah, we'll have to talk offline.
Okay, very
Yeah,
good.
because I know Frank. Yeah. Oh, good.
So
Well,
yes, yeah. Well,
yeah,
next questions.
yeah. If you could snap your fingers and immediately alter two things about the choral art profession system in California, what would you alter?
Really, what I'd alter if the snap worked, um, I would alter the curriculum in our 4-year institutions. Um, that the goals of that curriculum were not only or primarily Western European based, but there was a focus on world musics and improvisation and community ensemble singing, just sort of deconstructing a little bit of the ivory tower. I say very carefully because I'm part of it in some degree, but I'm finding that as we try to change things in the community college system to try to get our students ready for transfer, we still have to prioritize the harmonic structure of Western European music. We have to laud and become experts in it. Whereas I think we should really do some serious sight reading of some Indian classical music and some of their theoretical systems. So that I'll stop at that one. I got lots of snaps. How about
Well,
you? I mean, I'm guessing there's a bunch that I'd change, but how about you, Lindsay?
well, there's a couple of things right off the bat. I have had the wonderful opportunity to sing with Andrew DeQuadros and Emily Amrine
Yep.
in Common Voices La Frontera, and in both TJ and in San Diego. And to what you're really talking about is how do we continue to colonize using these systems that we are using every day in our schools to continue to colonize these lands and using that as an instrument of colonization. And so, how do we decolonize? Is what you're asking?
That's yeah, exactly.
You know, um, I'm a bit more further than that in terms of just voices because just by definition, vocal registers are binary.
Right.
They're gendered,
Yeah.
and at least uh, you know, J.W. Pepper has gone from male choruses, female
Yes.
choruses to SSA and
Yep.
TTBB, etc. But that's still the binary for
Right.
us. And what I'm doing right now in my work is trying to create spaces for trans and non-binary people so that they can make a living using their voices, singing. Um, because using the binary system, I betray myself. I out
Yep.
myself being a
Yep.
tenor. And so that's one of the real things for me would be, taking a close examination of that and then creating spaces. And it would start, I guess, in grade 4 now in San Diego public schools, if that's where, or is it grade 5 where music is starting, um, to deconstruct that
Doesn't start
binary.
in the first grade.
Does it? I don't know. I
It
don't know.
should. I didn't actually know that.
I, I think it starts a little bit later, if I'm not mistaken. And but there's general music classes that happen, and then they get
Right.
into
Yeah.
ensembles in middle school and high school.
Yeah.
Um, that's the space where, if we're going to affect change, that's the place to do it. So,
And that's our teachers, our music teachers that are in the 4-year institutions right now. They still have to do a degree that has some really narrow parameters, but they are the people that are going into our classrooms that can make the change, and that's what's exciting. The potential is exciting, to
yeah,
stay optimistic, let's say.
yeah. Well, so who or what inspired you to pursue music in the first place?
Oh, I think you have to go first. I think I went first on the last one.
Okay.
So,
Uh, well, I grew up in a musical house. My mother went to the University of Texas and was a soprano, and then ended up graduating from San Diego State, with a music ed degree. My father taught me trumpet, so I grew up, Pershing being in the band and Patrick Henry being in the band. And then I didn't get into chorus until I got to San Diego State and fell in love with concert choir. Um,
wow.
and I've just been blessed to be able to have a life in music, just flatly. It's just a blessing. And um, certainly the opportunity of transparency of emotion and authenticity that music brings always appealed to me, and I loved being an instrumentalist and pouring my heart into my instrument and all of that. Um, what about you?
Musical household as well, but ours was a much more organic music. We were not a household of trained musicians. Th- that training went along with, our childhood training kind of thing. We were, everybody get together and sing after dinner, pass the guitar around, pass a fiddle around, auto harp. So a little bit of that kind of thing, and then singing, church music, that sort of thing was part of my growing up. But I loved instrumental music too. I was an oboist and loved to be able to express through the oboe. It was a very wonderful vehicle for me to express myself, and so I really just stayed in music and never. I tried a couple of things, tried to leave a couple of times, but it's just what I do. So it's just what we do.
If you could do it all over again, what would you do differently?
I would I would work on knowing myself more, um and then trusting that voice more. What would you do differently?
Well, it depends on what time we're talking about.
Same, frankly, same. Yeah.
Because historically, I didn't have any choice about the decade I was born into, and just the circumstances. Because obviously, I knew who I was when I was 5. I just didn't get to change till I was 56. And for that reason, I wouldn't change anything else. I am wonderfully married and I have wonderful children, and I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world. Not that I'm not sure it would have been, but
Right.
um, uh, I wish I'd come to meditation and stuck with it for longer when I was at San Diego State. I've come back to it as an adult very happily. But I was doing all the Baba Ram Dass Be Here Now stuff back when it was originally written. I'm that old school. So yeah, but I misinterpreted what enlightenment meant.
Right.
That like I could stop thinking, and I just couldn't stop thinking. So, yeah, I just didn't get it.
Yeah. Do we? Though, I mean, yeah, that's part of the journey. I think is just we continue to look for and learn. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess um, we're getting asked, so what are we grateful for? What are you grateful for right now?
Well, right now I have been very consciously grateful of my privilege, um, in many facets. I feel grateful that I have a job that I could do from my home. I didn't have to worry about not getting a paycheck. Um, I'm very aware of my privilege, and I'm I'm both grateful and um, what do you call convicted to take my privilege in like my voices and those my positions and all sorts of things, and be an amplifier. um and so that's I'm aware and I'm grateful, but it's also an obligation I'm feeling, and that's a lot of work for me to take on. Oh, that sounds so self-serving, but I mean, that's that's an obligation that I should take because I can be grateful about these things. That was a pretty sloppy way of saying some things that are important to me, but I hope that sort of captured a little bit about where I'm at, what I'm grateful about.
I'd like to sing in one of your choirs, Arlie. Uh,
Anytime you can sing any voice part.
okay. Well,
What?
it's actually true.
That's probably true.
I could, to do my rehearsal tracks, I'd pretty much lay them down myself if I
Oh,
had
no kidding.
to.
So what are
Uh,
you grateful for right now?
um, well, I'm very grateful for vaccines. I'm very grateful for a sense of hope that I'm getting a sense of out in the general public.
Yeah.
Um, I am grateful that I've been able to uh, continue to manifest work during this pandemic with my group. We started right away on Zoom, and except for the last couple of weeks, we're on hiatus. We've been just very, very forthright and loyal to that. And so keeping a safe space for young queer kids has been really important. Um, there's a lot of depression. I mean, there's a lot. Kids are
Yeah.
really, really, really hurting, and there's an awful lot of fear. And even though there seems to be opportunity, there doesn't seem to be a lot of will to rush back into
Right.
chaos. So I'm grateful that I feel better, about that. I do want to echo Carol's note here about enjoying this conversation and supporting the Choral Consortium. Go online or click on the link that you have in the chat. Um, I, one little side note: my father is a usher, and he has been in 3 different, I guess, usher captains lists. So he does the San Diego Symphony out
Oh,
in the
wow.
Embarcadero area. And they're talking about late August starting a season and a couple of dry runs in July. So he's looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to my group getting together, and uh, we're going to be singing in the sanctuary of the University Christian Church. And so I'll put the dates up there on the website for people to come in during Pride.
Oh,
Aaron's
cool. So that's in July?
hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Pride, Light of the Cathedral. We will be at St. Paul's, Daniel,
Yeah.
um, singing live on that Wednesday evening, July the 14th. It's
Oh,
at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Okay, and I think I'm not quite sure about the assembly or the audience if that's going to be virtual, but I know that the presenters are going to be all there live, and so I'm really excited about that.
no kidding. Yeah.
Um, question about favorite San Diego venue to perform in. Do you have one?
Well, of course, it's our concert hall up at Miracosta. it's been my home, and it's been my refuge, and it's been where my community is. So uh, it's both my favorite to rehearse in and perform in, I think. So those of you who haven't been to Mira Costa College in Oceanside, we have the lovely concert hall there, lovely rich acoustic. So come up and visit me anytime to see that venue. Um, yeah, I'm also interested in seeing the Shell, the Symphony Shell this summer as well, hopefully. How about you?
Um, well, so I don't have a lot of recent experience because we've had pandemic and I haven't gotten to get
Sure.
into the rooms that um, in my youth the um, the convention center was where the orchestra used to perform. They were the Civic Theater.
Oh, wow.
Now I know they've moved to Copley, Hall, but that didn't that it might have existed, but they didn't use it for that then. Um, and other than that, it was just like the recital hall at San Diego
Right.
State,
Yeah.
Uh, but there's some great places in the world that have been fun to play in. And honestly, I think any place right now is going to be the
Uh,
next best place, right? Just
yeah.
get us up there, and the idea of being able to sing together is something really to look forward to.
Yeah.
Uh, do you have a secret non-music passion or hidden talent?
Not talent, but passion. That's clear. I did triathlon for a few years recently, and that was I got really passionate about it. I'm not good at it. Uh, and it was something that brought me a great deal of joy. I did a half Ironman a couple years ago, and it was such a parallel to the musician's journey of persistence and training and commitment and psychology, all of those sort of things. And I found many things that I learned as an artist and musician I used in my triathlon training. So I love that. And I have swimming induced pulmonary edema,
Oh,
so I'm
wow.
not able to swim in cold water anymore. Um, according to my the pulmonologist, due to risk of death. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm not doing that so much anymore. But that's a hidden passion, but certainly not a talent, just an interest.
Wow.
How about you?
Once upon a time I was a marathoner. I did Boston several times and
Whoa!
did New York, but that was pre-transition. Uh, I'm growing flowers. I'm growing roses right now,
That's
and
not easy.
I, I'm trying to get the hang of it here. I go regularly down to Balboa Park to the Rose Garden to just see if I'm matching what they're doing. And but there's an actual drill. There's actually a calendar of what to do if you're in San Diego for roses,
Wow.
and I'm learning by hook or by crook, and they're wonderful. I'm just really enjoying it. And I have a 1-year-old Mexican rescue dog. He's a one-eyed dog from Puerto Vallarta, and his name's Scooby. And so we're working with Scooby to get him to feel a little bit better about being in a home and being with folks.
Oh,
Yeah, it's pretty darn cool, actually. Uh, I guess that would be it. A question, what is something that we'd still like to accomplish?
oh, you have to start with that one. I have to think.
Okay. Well, I was appointed in April to the City of West Hollywood's Arts and Cultural Affairs Commission. I'm the first
Oh,
trans arts
cool.
commissioner for WeHo. And so I commute. I live here and I work in Los Angeles. Um, I have an opera that's going to get produced by Beth Morrison Projects. Give it a little shout out in January of 2023. and we'll have an LA premiere in November of 2022. And it's an all-trans, non-binary professional opera singers cast, and that's why
Wow.
we're doing it, is to create spaces and roles for
Yeah.
people that identify in my community to go get paid to do their thing.
Amazing.
So that's one of the things that I still want to do.
No kidding. That's quite an accomplishment. My fascination with that didn't give me time to think about what I might still want to accomplish. I um I have many things that I want to do musically, but they're incremental. Like I still want to make music. I would love to be in a position to have more choirs than my college choir. So I think those are some of the dreams on the horizon. But perhaps because today is the last day of classes and next week is finals, pretty much what would I like to still accomplish? Getting all my grading done. Yeah, so not quite as special, but yeah. Oh, yes. Do promote your choirs and you. Where can we find more information?
So lindseydeaton.com has information about me and upcoming calendar events. There's a documentary out on my work with the Trans Chorus of Los Angeles that's going to be screened for free by Skirball Center, Cultural Center in Los Angeles in June, and you can get the links at lindseydeaton.com. And then san diego pride.org/SDQYC for the San Diego Queer Youth Chorus. That'll have our upcoming events as well. What about you, Arlie?
So my choirs are just we're nestled into our miracosta.edu website. There's not much there because we haven't been able to have concerts. They haven't really even got a system for promoting some of our online like our virtual choir things. So perhaps I'll promote the California Choral Directors Association as sort of an offshoot. We've really created a new vibrant mission statement, and I think we've got some good direction that we're going to go in the future. That I'm hoping, and Carol and the Choral Consortium here, we've talked really loosely about how do we how do we acknowledge and even support and maybe even collaborate on things. So um, that's you'll find me sort of under those auspices as that goes through.
Awesome.
That's great. Thank you. If we have any, we've got a couple minutes left here before we thank Lindsey and Arlie. If you have any questions from the audience, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I'll just give you guys a couple minutes to ponder and think of something you might want to ask. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up here in a few minutes. I'll give you guys some time to post any questions you might want to ask.
I'm loving this chat. This has been a fun way to connect. The pandemic's been lonely, but Zoom has made it like even though that's the torture of the pandemic, this connection, how fortunate we are um, to be able to make it. Yeah.
I agree. Just a little side note, before we had this opportunity of peering into people's lives, all we would see was what was presented to us in person. And once we went to virtual gatherings, all of a sudden the intimate things like pride flags came out, and it was, you have that flag, oh, I got that flag too. It was just really
Wow.
very, very, very fun. um,
That's cool.
uh, a question: if your choir could collaborate with another San Diego choir, which one would you like to work with? You want to answer that one, Arlie?
Um, I could pretty much list which ones wouldn't I like to work with. Really, in my little bit of interaction with the conductors and other singers at various choirs, I do wish there was a vehicle for us to do more than our San Diego sings every now and again, because we are all so busy that we can't often see each other's choirs, but when we're together, we're like, we have this in common. How wonderful this is to be together. So, yeah, that's a vague answer, but oh, lots. How about you? Where would you even start that list?
Um, so, my immediate thought was I'd like to work with uh, any group of middle or high school age students that would like to be like with our kids.
Yeah,
Um, my experience is that when we sing together and we're breathing together, then our hearts are all beating together and everybody sort of gets it. And for my community, in particular for kids, the amount of bullying and harassment they experience on a regular basis, I would hope it'd be greatly diminished, just naturally, because there would be some protection of creating a
yeah,
safe space.
yeah,
Um, so that would be sort of like my first thing. It's always fun when you get to sing with groups that have more experience than you do to see,
yeah,
what's
yeah.
possible. And I remember as a student at San Diego State, CMEA had a conference one time at the Town and Country, and we got to hear like the William Warfield singers and just some really incredible stuff that obviously captivated my attention and kept me
Yeah,
going. And that's what I wish for.
yeah,
I just want kids to have that opportunity.
yeah.
So, do we have any questions out there, y'all?
We've said it all.
Yeah, I think that about covers it. So, thank you again, Lindsey and Arlie, for joining us. It was so great having you. We'll look for a fourth conductor conversation in the series in June. So keep your eyes out for more information on that. So everyone go ahead and you can unmute and say hello and thank you and turn back on your cameras and we can close off the recording, I think, as we just kind of all say goodbye and show our appreciation for Arlie and Lindsey. And we'll see everyone else next time.
Thanks. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks,